Coupled with the United States punishing high tariff policy on Chinese goods, the pressure on the nation's economic foundation is intensifying, strangling industries, suffocating jobs, and forcing millions into survival mode. This is not just a downturn in data, it is a human crisis, unfolding in real time across factory floors and city streets. Chinese social media platforms are now flooded with stories of companies failing to pay wages on time, if at all. Outraged and desperate workers are rising up. The fear of police crackdowns no longer stops them. They are flooding the streets, demanding justice, demanding the wages they rightfully earned. Among thousands of comments online are raw cries for help, furious, heart-wrenching testimonies from people cheated of their livelihoods. It's a painful truth laid bare for all to see. China's working class is fed up, and they are no longer staying silent. Since late April, China's economy has plunged deeper into recession, with no signs of relief in sight. As the United States ramps up high tariffs on Chinese exports, Beijing finds itself besieged on all fronts, internally strained and externally pressured. The consequences are erupting into plain view. Wage arrears, factory shutdowns, and waves of worker protests are flooding Chinese social media, exposing a brutal reality unfolding across the nation. On April 24, hundreds of workers from Guantan Power Co. Ltd. in Dao County, Hunan Province, launched a fierce strike. Their demand: fair compensation after the company abruptly shut down the factory without offering any severance. Workers revealed that the company had long failed to pay mandatory social insurance. Since September of the previous year, it had also systematically fired female workers over the age of 50 under the pretext of retirement age, without any compensation or assistance in processing retirement, impacting over 100 employees. Then came April 27. At Shangda Electronics, a leading Chinese manufacturer of flexible printed circuits, FPC, located in Suining, Sichuan, workers launched a mass strike. Their patience had worn thin. Months of unpaid wages and halted social insurance payments drove them to the edge. One worker revealed that salaries hadn't been paid since the beginning of the year, and social insurance contributions had ceased entirely since June 2023, but this wasn't an isolated incident. Shangda Electronics had a long, bitter history of wage theft, a symbol of a broader, festering crisis sweeping across China. As early as May last year, an independent media outlet in Sichuan exposed a grim reality. Shangda had never honored its promises to pay wages on time. The culture of chronic non-payment had become an open wound, festering resentment among workers. This was not an anomaly. It was symptomatic of a crumbling system. In another corner of this unraveling economy, chaos erupted again. At the Dewang Plaza Reinforcement Project in Jifeng District, Chongqing, rumors of unpaid wages triggered a storm. From April 26 to 27, the construction site descended into turmoil. Dozens of workers flooded the site and the local police station, demanding the wages they had toiled so hard to earn. Their protests painted yet another stark portrait of China's industrial decay. At the same time, on April 28th, in Jian, Jiangxi Province, dozens of construction workers at a local project in Zunlian Village gathered to demand months of unpaid wages. They hadn't seen a paycheck since February. Just days earlier, on April 25, in Tongliao, Inner Mongolia, desperation reached a harrowing peak. At the Jintan Yuyuan residential complex, a group of construction workers climbed onto the rooftop and threatened to take their own lives unless their wages were paid. A chilling act of desperation that laid bare their utter hopelessness. By April 30th, Chinese social media platform Douyin, China's TikTok, exploded with videos documenting the wage crisis. One after another, clips showed workers going on strike across the country demanding what was rightfully theirs. These were not isolated incidents, they were shockwaves from a collapsing system. For example, on April 30th, every worker at Shengdico Ltdc in Huzhou, Zhejiang Province, staged a full-scale strike. They had waited days for overdue wages, but no solution came. The response online was both furious and foreboding. One user in Zhejiang wrote, How can a company this big go bankrupt? Another added, this whole industry is restructuring. Workers will benefit, but the bosses will suffer. A third warned, this will spark a chain reaction, hold the line. These comments weren't just frustration, they were cries from the heart of a nation unraveling, voices echoing through the shadows of a crumbling economy. Recent videos paint a grim and heartbreaking reality. Across China, companies of all kinds, state-owned giants, private enterprises, wholesale markets, and even agricultural trading hubs, are defaulting on wages. Thousands of workers are being denied fair pay for their labor. While major cities simmer with unrest, rural laborers are now joining the wave of protest, traveling long distances in search of the wages they rightfully earned through back-breaking work. Social media is flooded with testimonies from every corner of the country. A user from Guangxi or Guozhou writes, the 6th branch of China Railway, No. 25, where I worked at Jingxi Railway Station, still owes me over 70,000 yuan since 2012. Another adds, Jingxi Company in Fengxingang, Guangxi, owes me 20 yuan. It's been a year. More than 20 of us haven't been paid. And from Chongqing, we worked in Fuli City 3 years ago. To this day, they still owe us more than 30 yuan. These aren't isolated complaints. They are evidence of a nationwide wage crisis, unfolding in real time. This crisis is not confined to one region, it's a wildfire sweeping across provinces. From Jiangsu to Henan, the same anguished voices cry out. Zhongwu Company owes us over 100,000 yuan since last year. Aeron Company in Jiangsu hasn't paid me 20,000 yuan for 3 years. They owe me over 60,000 yuan. And more than 10 other workers are in the same boat. I'm still waiting on hundreds of thousands of yuan. How do I get in touch with someone for help? From Jiangxi and Sichuan to Inner Mongolia, workers continue to speak out through clenched teeth and broken spirits. I worked for Tianhang Electromechanical in Tangshan. They haven't paid me in over a year. 3 of us are owed more than 60,000 yuan. A company in Shuiyang County, Luzhou City, Sichuan, still hasn't paid my wages. Wanda Group in Qifeng owes me 10,000 yuan. And the trail of unpaid wages doesn't end there. The pattern stretches further to Shanxi, Guangdong, Chongqing, and Xinjiang. China Construction No. 8 in Yulin, Shanxi owes us wages from December to April. They haven't paid me for 7 to 8 years. I worked on a site in Kunming, Yunnan. They still owe me over 40,000 yuan. Huago Construction and Installation in Weihai owes me 49,300 yuan. These voices form a chorus of despair, echoing through the heart of a collapsing labor system where debts grow, justice is delayed, and faith in the system is rapidly vanishing. Would you like the next section translated as well? Across China, from the cities to the countryside, workers are rising up, demanding justice and reclaiming the rights that have been trampled underfoot. In a powerful interview with Radio Free Asia, Ji Feng, a prominent leader of the 1989 student movement, did not hesitate to expose a painful truth. During a recent journey from his hometown in Guizhou back to Beijing, he spoke with numerous business owners. What he heard was grim and alarming. One after another, they confessed to being trapped in a severe economic crisis. Profits had all but vanished, cash flow had dried up. Many were unsure how to keep their operations afloat. Some, pushed to the brink, even uttered chilling admissions. We'd rather go to prison, because there's simply no way out. Ji Feng pointed out, when wage arrears occur, workers will immediately turn to government agencies to protest. And once protests break out, companies have no choice but to borrow money to pay wages. Even if a company owes wages for 3 months, they must find a way to pay monthly salaries no matter how much they need to borrow. If they fail to pay on time, the government will intervene and may arrest those responsible. This statement serves as a clear warning of the rising tension within China's economy, where workers face an uncertain future, and business owners have little room left to maneuver but to comply with government decisions. The collapse of China's exports, the end of a growth machine. From late 2023 to mid-2025, China's economy entered an unprecedented phase of recession. no longer a typical cyclical downturn, but rather a full-scale systemic disintegration. At the center of this seismic upheaval lies the catastrophic collapse of the export sector, which has been the beating heart of China's rapid economic growth for over 3 decades. The root cause of this crisis is crystal clear: the brutal wave of tariffs imposed by the United States. When Washington introduced a staggering 145% tariff on Chinese goods, it was not merely a trade punishment. It was, in essence, a steel fist aimed directly at the very foundation of China's export-dependent economy. As a result, major American conglomerates, the dominant importers of Chinese products, rapidly canceled their orders within a matter of weeks, causing the entire export supply chain to crumble in a domino effect. This crisis, however, is far from just a sudden blow. It is the culmination of years of unsustainable growth, where China relied heavily on global markets to fuel its industrial expansion. Once the primary engine of China's economic miracle, the export sector has now been decimated, signaling the end of an era. The immediate consequences of this collapse spread like a tsunami. Hundreds of thousands of containers piled up, clogging major ports like Shenzhen, Ningbo, and Qingdao. The container fill rate for shipments to the United States, once a stable 90%, plummeted sharply to just 50–60%. By the first quarter of 2025, shipping costs, which had peaked at $7,000.00 per container during the boom period, have now fallen drastically to just $2.00, $2.50. In some cases, entire ships departed port without any cargo, a stark symbol of an industrial engine that had been unplugged. In coastal provinces like Guangdong, Zhejiang, and Jiangsu, hubs of export production, millions of factories were forced to reduce shifts from 3 to 1, or even close entirely. Many industrial parks became desolate. Recruitment boards vanished, replaced by long lines of workers waiting to settle their severance contracts, or more desperately, demand unpaid wages. Small and medium-sized enterprises, once crucial links in the supply chain for components, packaging, and logistics, no longer had the cash flow to keep running, leading to a cascading wave of bankruptcies. The situation has grown even more dire as Western investment capital has rushed out of China, shifting to countries like Vietnam, India, and Indonesia, part of the China Plus One strategy. This is not just about losing orders. China is losing its central role in the global supply chain. This crisis is not confined to the production level. Its consequences have spread to logistics, corporate finance, and the labor market. Millions are losing their jobs, with no compensation, no future prospects. Social trust is crumbling. The old growth models, driven by real estate and fueled by exports, have all failed in unison. The government seems powerless to find a new path forward, as the economy no longer has any traditional engines strong enough to revive it. The most frightening part is not the temporary decline, but the systemic nature of this crisis. What is unfolding is not merely a reaction to the U.S. tariff shock, but the culmination of decades of imbalanced development, overly dependent on foreign markets. Now, with the world turning its back, China's economy has been thrust into a prolonged crisis cycle, one that will not be easily reversed. The seeds of this collapse were sown long ago, and now it is exploding in pieces, right at the heart of the world's largest manufacturing machine.